Well, this morning I'm going to tell you about work in the morning. Well, not me particularly, but Kimberly, because she has your spotlight on now.
Now, the government is interested in knowing the sectors and occupations where vacancies exist. Following the last job vacancy survey in 2012, they have decided to conduct a second job vacancy survey with a view to have this conducted at more regular intervals through the Ministry of Labour. And so joining us this morning to discuss this is Manager of the Labour Market Information Unit at the Ministry of Labour, Mr. Bruce Spencer, and Kyrie Consultant, Mr. Wendell Thomas. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So I'm coming across first to you, Mr. Spencer, because I want to know the Labour, the LMIU, what sort of unit it is, what sort of work do you do at the unit?
Right, so at the Labour Market Information Unit, what we do is that we develop and maintain the Labour Market Information System. Labour Market Information System means those are the producers and the users of data, labour market data that is. In addition to that, the policies, the legislations, the definitions, the concepts, and the data itself. So all these things paint a picture of the Labour Market Information System, which we develop and maintain.
Yeah. Is it digital? Because I know that the ministry has a drive right now where everything is digitized.
Yes, it's somewhat digital in terms of there is online information that we would distribute on a website. Right. In addition to that, people may request information on a day-to-day basis, and we'll send it via email to them and so on. So we also want to go into a stage where we can let them have access to some of the data that we have so that they can do research and so on online as well. So we're pushing in that direction. So yes, there is technology is coming because we know how the world is, and we're driving into a new stage in life.
Yeah. Now, from what we understand, the last survey was in 2012, and now in 2023, so like over 10 years, and we're having a second one. What's the main purpose of it?
Well, the main purpose of this survey, as you said before, is to find out where the vacancies are, in which occupations, in which industry. Now, this is very important because for far too long in the past, we would have only had information on the employed, the unemployed, underemployed, and that kind of information. Now we need to get information on the demand side of the market, which deals with the employer, and looking at vacancies in terms of hard to fill vacancies. If we could find some way of solving that for the employer, obviously, that will help the business grow and the economy grow otherwise.
I'm coming across to you, Mr. Thomas. I know that you are from Kairi Consultants. Tell us about the consultancy agency and then how you would have started the partnership with the ministry and the kind of data that we're hoping to extract.
Okay, Kairi Consultants was founded in 1990, so that we have been in operation for quite a number of years. The company focuses on projects that are developmental in nature, and we have done work not only in Trinidad, but across the Caribbean and as far as Africa. Kairi's relationship with the Ministry of Labour specifically started in 2012 when the first job vacancy was conducted. Back then, Kairi's role was a bit Kyrie was not as involved as we are in this present exercise. In 2012, our focus was really on the data collection side of it. In this present exercise, we are designing the methodology that would be used for the survey. We would be developing and selecting the sample. We would be collecting the data as we did in 2012, but also preparing the technical reports that would be used by the ministry, of course, so that it's really a end-to-end role we are playing in that regard. And just to mention, we are working with the ministry more so as partners, not as consultants and clients. So in that regard, we see ourselves as maybe senior partners, and one of the important activities that we have to ensure we do is ensure that there is sufficient capacity building and knowledge transfer to the Ministry of Labour, simply because there are plans to institutionalize the survey and take it forward, from year to year.
Now, in terms of the data that you're hoping to extract, what sort of things you're hoping to see coming out of the research?
Okay, specifically, we would be looking at data for the year 2022 from January to December, and we would be targeting information data on the number of employed persons within firms, the number of separations, meaning persons who would have left the organization, the number of hard-to-fill jobs. We would also be looking at that. And we also want to take the opportunity to collect data on the participation of migrant workers in the workforce. For example, the labor market would have been hit severely by COVID-19, as you know. So we are also taking the opportunity to collect some information on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the labor force. And finally, while we would be collecting information on the types of jobs that are in the offering, and the qualifications that would be required to fill those jobs, we are also seeking to get information on skills and including soft skills that employees are demanding.
Now, when we get these soft skills and we get that information, I'm coming back to you, Mr. Spencer, how is the ministry going to use it to address the vacancies in the population?
Well, of course, when we get that sort of information, we will have to do further investigation so that we'll be able to come up with reports that will be able to alleviate the challenges within these employers' organizations, right? So the soft skills is not only soft skills, we also have the qualification, as well as in terms of those vacancies which are hard to fill. Now, there are challenges outside here and with the employers. In fact, they're trying to find out why it is these vacancies are there so long. So being on the demand side of the market, which is the vacancies, we also have to look at the supply side. What is going on in terms of the unemployed who are there? Do they have the sufficient qualifications to be able to cover that? And these are the kind of things we have to look at and we have to investigate.
Are there certain jobs, you would say, where there's a lot of vacancies, like certain sectors? And anybody can answer this question.
Well, that is exactly why the survey is being done.
Yeah.
We need to be able to answer that question. And so this survey would specifically allow us to answer that question in terms of what are the growth sectors, what type of jobs are being demanded by specific sectors, what skills are needed by those sectors. Are those jobs hard to fill? Are employers having a hard time recruiting persons?
Yeah.
Right? So those questions at the core would be answered from the data generated from this survey.
So we had this survey back in 2012. I know that Kyrie was also in charge of that survey as well. What sort of trends you would have seen in that survey that made you realize, okay, well, this is a gap that we need to fill?
Well, these surveys are standard surveys that are done by countries from time to time. Unfortunately, Bruce has been speaking about the demand and the supply side. In Trinidad, we have focused a lot on the supply side by conducting what the CSSP, which is known as the Labor Force Survey.
Right.
We have not paid much attention to the demand side, meaning the type of skills that businesses or employers are demanding. So that it's difficult at this stage to speak about trends in terms of the supply side, but certainly that's one of the challenges that the ministry is attempting to address by conducting this survey and ensuring that the period in which the survey is repeated is not as long as it has
before.
Yes.
Mr. Spencer, I'm coming back to you because I want to know, what is the value of doing something like this? Yes, I know you mentioned the objective of it, but what is the real tangible value to the ministry, if any, for doing a survey like this? I mean, the last one was in 2012. We do have, since the pandemic, an increasing number of unemployment in the country, and I think it's something that we need to address. So what was the reason for having such a long period? And of course, what sort of benefit is it to the ministry?
Right, in terms of the length of time and the gap in terms of we doing another vacancy survey, what would have happened is that the unit was not fully staffed at the point in time between a certain amount of years due to circumstances beyond the ministry's control. And what has happened is that in this new era here, I think would have been from 2017 going forward, we started to staff the unit and the labor market information. And this is the reason why we didn't do the survey for such a period of time. Now, in terms of the benefits is not only to the ministry itself, but is to employers. Employers in terms of our human resources way. When we do this particular vacancy survey, obviously, they'll be able to see it's almost sort of advertising for the private sector or the employers, as the case might be, to finding people to be able to fill these particular positions. In addition to that, they may have to do some introspection to see what is going on, why it is we are having these vacancies, in terms of, is it how we are advertising, is it wages, is it working conditions, and also too, we also looking at projected vacancies. Now this of course will help people who are on the ground, who are hearing about vacancies that may be coming up. We will have to qualify ourselves for that. So what I'm saying is that the employers benefit from it, the job seekers also benefit from it, because they can see what vacancies are there to be filled. In addition to that, researchers benefit from it because they need the information in order to do some reports or probably projects that will be able to help out issues within the labor market.
Yeah, and in terms of follow-up, so for example, we have this survey, we get the information, Mr. Thomas, he tabulates the results, we have this report. In terms of the follow-up, is it that the ministry is going to make recommendations? Let's say, for example, if a particular sector, they have a particular vacancy, or if there's a skill that's absent within that sector, is there some sort of follow-up after the report is put together? Is there going to be a follow-up?
Yes, there's going to be a follow-up, of course. There must be continuity. We can't do a particular survey and stop there.
Yeah.
We have to do this on a periodic basis. And we intend to do shorter surveys on a quarterly basis, just like how the CSO does a quarterly survey in terms of the supply side, in terms of employment and so on. We want to do a vacancy survey on a quarterly basis so that we'll be able to match what CSO has and what we have, and see where is the skill gaps.
Right. And of course, this will be released to students and everybody. Will the report be released to public?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. And I'm coming across to you because I want to know, for example, okay, what sort of sample size are you using? Because you mentioned the sample size. I mean, what sort of areas are you targeting? And of course, you mentioned it is in fact going to be published. I mean, how are you going to tabulate the results, that sort of thing?
Okay, so we are targeting a sample of approximately 2,000 businesses. As you may know, the CSO maintains an establishment register. That's really a listing of all of the registered businesses, and they are organized by sectors, so that we are using that establishment register as our base from which we would select, and firms would be selected in proportion to their representation in the overall business community.
And in terms of the information that you want to capture, apart from name and that sort of thing, what sort of information you will want people to share when they come around to this survey?
Well, as I indicated earlier, the core information for this type of survey would really be data on the number of persons employed, the type of employees you have, whether it's an owner, an employee, an apprentice, etc., that level of detail. We would also want to get some micro data on characteristics of the employed. So age, sex, levels of education, etc., so that we would really have a good appreciation for the composition of current employees, as well as the type of new employees that businesses are seeking to engage.
Now, while CSO has a database that you're using, if there's just a random business owner who wants to participate in this survey, can they do something like that?
No, they can't, unfortunately.
Yes.
In order to add value and rigor to the process, we have to ensure that we use appropriate scientific methods of sampling, etc.
Right.
As a matter of fact, one of the issues to note is that unregistered businesses that operate in the informal sector, for example, would not participate in this exercise. However, the ministry could in fact employ alternative methods to treat specifically with those sectors, going forward.
Yeah. How do you expect, Mr. Spencer, how do you expect people to respond to this? I mean, what sort of impact you're hoping it has? I mean, apart from getting the vacancies, filling the vacancies, I mean, what else are people supposed to glean from this survey?
Well, I think it's a picture of the labor market, the structure of the labor market, what are the challenges in the labor market. These are the kind of things that people will be seeing with the kind of information we're going to bring out. Now, this is just one of the projects that we're doing, right? There are other projects like there's a labor market projection. We want to do on the labor market. Informal sector, we want to do a project on that. We also want to do projects in terms of youth employment, right? Because data in itself, what I'm saying is that it's a detailed picture and gives you a more vivid understanding of what it is going on in the labor market. So I'm saying that to all and sundry, the kind of information that we will be producing, not only for the vacancy survey, would give us a vivid picture, and so that we will be able to address the challenges and so on within the labor market.
Yeah. And can anyone say when this survey will start and how long you think it might be for us to generate that report?
Yes, the survey is scheduled to commence next week, February 9th,
right.
and it's projected to run for 3 months, so that the completion date should be in early May, around May 10th, all things being equal.
Yeah, like I know when you're doing surveys and when you're doing research and that sort of thing, there must be some contingency in place for, let's say, if somebody didn't answer a question correct and that sort of thing. How do you intend to deal with that?
Well, we have done extensive training over the past couple of days of our field personnel, and we have designed our questionnaire in such a way we are using tablet devices, which allows us to program a lot of validation checks into the questionnaire, so that any defects in reporting in terms of numbers, etc., could be corrected at the source. This is a quantum leap, I think, from the last exercise we would have done in 2012, which was entirely paper-based.
Yeah. And is it that the businesses that you have, they're going to be emailed some sort of online thing to fill out, or how is it going to be rolled out?
Well, this survey is face-to-face, simply because there are a number of technical terms and concepts that must be introduced during the data collection process. What we would do is send advanced communication to the selected businesses, so that they would get a sense of the nature of information we are demanding of them. We can't simply show up at their doors and expect to get it. So every effort would be made to communicate well in advance with a selected establishment to ensure that they are ready to receive our interviewers.
Yeah. And Mr. Spencer, final thoughts in addition to any sort of website address you want to leave for anybody who might be interested?
Yes, our communication unit is engaging in a social media campaign which seeks to promote this job vacancy survey. We can also visit our website, which is www.labor.gov.tt. We also have accounts in Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube channel. And the handle is @LaborGovTT.
Nice. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. All the best, of course, with this survey, and I'm hoping that we get the sort of information we need to address some of the employment and labor issues we have in the country. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much
for having us.
And that was Bruce Spencer, the manager of the Labor Market Information Unit at the Ministry of Labor. And of course, we have Kyrie consultant who's working as a partner with the ministry, Mr. Wendell Thomas, just telling us about the survey, that vacancy survey that's supposed to kick off next week. You're on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.